Hi there, my name is James Miles, and we're going to get started with some C Sharp. So, what we're going to do, we're going to get the project open, and then we're going to discuss C Sharp and what I'm using it on in a little bit more detail. So, just bear with me. First of all, I'm going to want you to click New Project. New Project, everything in Visual Studio 2013 is known as a project. So, that's what we're going to be working on. You need to ensure that you have Visual C Sharp highlighted, not and not really anything else, because we're going to be programming in C Sharp. So just click that once and it will highlight it, and then you see this selection here. We're going to be doing a console application, so click console application, and we will call it something appropriate, so we'll call it VidCast 2. And you can see where it's going to be saved here. I'm just going to leave it to be saved there because it's a fairly suitable place. It's saved in the Visual Studio folder. So yeah, that's what this is. This is Visual Studio. If you're familiar with web design, it's kind of like your general WYSIWYG editor. This is just where you can put your code in and your life will be made a lot easier for you, just because it underlines stuff that's wrong, it tells you when you're missing things, it tells you it gives you lots of prompts as to what needs to go where, so it's quite handy. But on to what we're going to do now. So, I don't know, if you're familiar with the IT community, then you'll be aware that whenever you're learning something new, there tends to be a particular phrase that you learn. And we're going to do that phrase now, we're going to do that today. So, we begin with typing system.console. Now this is the console class. It basically just says what's going to be doing the function, what's going to be looking it up, stuff like that. So as it's a console application, we type in system.console. Then we throw in a writeLine. Now writeLine is just a function that you use when you want the console to output something. So that's why we're using that. And then we type in hello world, yes! So like I said, if you're familiar, then you will have seen this coming from a mile off. Hello world is a general thing that you put in just to test something, like lorem ipsum. And you see here this little red underlining bit. Basically, that's the Visual Studio telling me you're missing something. And in this instance, if you look down here, it says it's expecting to see a semicolon. That's because, like in CBOT, the semicolon says that this is the end of this line. And what we're also going to throw in, just for good measure, is a console.readline. Because that will keep the console open when we have finished our work, when the output has occurred. And did you see the underline there? You have to make sure when you're putting in your commands into C Sharp or into Visual Studio that you camelcase it. So first letter capitalized, and then first letter of the second word capitalized. So we've got our semicolons, we've got our words, we've got our writing, so it should all work. In theory, this is programming and coding. Never is that easy. And then we go up to this banner here with a ribbon, although not entirely the ribbon because it's not exactly the same. And then we click debug, and then we click start debugging. And it will say if there's any issues, didn't come up with any issues, and then as you can see, we have hello world written out for us on the console, and it's still there because we put that read line in, which means the console won't close until we close it. So yeah. That's how you do hello world. Obviously, programming and coding has a really huge breadth and width of what you can actually do with it. I've just shown you a really basic thing. Writing something out on the console, as I'm sure you're aware, is not the most difficult of things, but hopefully it'll spur you on to try and go on the internet and find out how to do some of the more difficult things. Because if there's one thing I can do, is I can definitely recommend that you use the internet with C Sharp, because there is plenty of literature out there to help you. Hopefully this will help you get on board with learning your coding and learning your programming and learning C Sharp. So yeah, thank you, it was a pleasure.